Let's see. The lighting's a bit different now today because they did a bit of yard work and we're missing some trees. So perhaps this corner won't work for us in the future. Although if it starts raining, I guess I'll be a little protected. I'm under the trees. Not wearing white today. Wearing a nice dark color, but my hat is a little white. I wonder if using my ring light outside would help with the lighting. I don't know. It's very difficult to predict all this. Get decent lighting. Anyway, can you hear me? How are you? Do you like my hat? It's my new hat. Hello. I forget who asked me to wear a hat, but I didn't forget this week. No, I told you, I'm a Saturday smoker. I mean, this is my practice time for my acting, so I don't really have reason to do it the rest of the week. I'm quite busy. Took my driver's test again and failed again. Gotta work on that. Driving tests driving me nuts. After like 3 weeks, I'm not going to be allowed to legally drive my car anymore, so get a taste of Audrey not driving. Did she ever take a driving? She did drive at some point, didn't she? She did. We'll see. Thank you. Yes, I know it's still a little bright. There's a little shadow. It's like a big white bow. I wanted something for bad hair days, although it does mean I have to wear blue and white. I need more hats. I have a lot of hats, but I don't wear a lot of them. I should probably reconsider my hat collection. I have a video of most of my hat collection on my TikTok if you're interested. I'll put on all my hats within 30 seconds, right? Or a minute or something. So let's see. Today, I brought this again. I'll try it again. I mean, I would like to master that as well. Didn't go well last time, but I mean, I didn't wipe it. Doing this while reading is also kind of, a little difficult. I don't want to burn my pages, but I'm going to try that one again. And I've got the Lucky Strikes again, ones, and I haven't had a chance to make my own yet. Having testing has been occupying my time. Also my diary readings, which are going to be on my private buy me a coffee place where you can go and buy me a coffee, give me a donation or join in if you want to just join that for $5 a month. That's where I'm posting diary readings in my regular voice. I'm working on the next video to stick up there. As for the diaries, I also just put a video on TikTok today about my diaries, and I gave you a peek at the whole collection. That's kind of my hobby at the moment, my collection. Way too many things going on. What else? Got my, what was it? Recycled nylon, more environmentally friendly lighter again today. It's a nice, soothing, mossy green color. Love that. It's by Cricket Eco. Trying to be eco-friendly. So I use that again today. Why don't we attempt to use this before I start reading? So, I'm sorry, my nose is a little runny. It's actually, oh, hi squirrel, it's you again. You're so cute. What do you have? You have a nut? Please don't drop it on me. There's an adorable brown squirrel right overhead. Hi. Hello, friend. I get very easily distracted. Squirrel. Joke. I think they're adorable. Vicious little critters. So yeah, we'll just start on this before opening the book. See if I can get the hang of it. Got that. Today I remembered to bring my other phone, so I have a clock. I know what time it is. Oh. Let's see here. so far we're going, it's doing better. You're so late. What time is it? It's 5:01. You know, I just started a couple minutes ago. I was rushing a bit today because I couldn't find the attachment for my tripod. It was on a chair. It definitely takes more sucking power. And do I prefer right hand or left hand there? Yeah, that takes a little practice, huh? That, tap, tap. Yeah, I don't know about that. That will take some practice getting used to. I have a longer one too, you know, like the breakfast at Tiffany's kind. It's just a whole coat. What do you call that? No. Is that called kaleidoscoping or something? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know this is like the herbal cigarette and it doesn't make me as dizzy as the real one, but I feel like I'm not really getting a lot in my inhales there with this thing. Maybe there's a leak. This one's not. This is the ecstasy, the acting one, but I have the Lucky Strikes too, but I thought I would attempt this. I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely getting something because there's smoke in my mouth. Not sure how I feel about it. Well, I'm afraid that's going to fall out of it. It doesn't really seem to grasp it that well. Anyone out there smoke with their cigarette holders? I think I have a smaller one somewhere too, like just a little bitty filter. Yeah, I don't think I'll do the rest of them with the holder today. It's a little complicated while reading. Which do I like best? I don't really know. These feel lighter because, you know, there's probably less harmful chemicals in this. So it feels like healthier, I guess. But what I am going to do is kind of mix up my own. Like I said, I hadn't had a chance this week. And I don't know, I want to have a little fun with it and mix up things that might give a little like sweet flavor. No. So I just haven't done that yet. There are a couple herbs that were recommended to me. I can't remember what exactly is in this one. I have the whole list, you know, bunches of herbs. I guess the one thing I would say I enjoy about cigarettes, I mean, which you can do on your own anyway, is just kind of makes you take deep inhales and like slow inhales and like pay attention to your breath, and I guess it's like a bit meditative. But I don't think that is specific to smoking cigarettes. I think you can do that with meditation and everything. I can get quite a head buzz from just like the Wim Hof breathing and meditation. So, no, he just kind of goes outside and smokes, and I'm usually busy with things. So, all right, that's at its end. Okay, the one thing I like about the holder, I guess, is that my fingers do not get hot and not as smelly. So that is a benefit to those. I'm learning. All right, so we're going to get started on chapter 6 as Audrey. It's getting better. She's at the School for Tropical Medicine in Brussels now. So that's more exciting. I have an umbrella here in case it starts raining because it's a little humid. It might rain. Okay then. Let's see. Sorry, hold on. Oh, there's some there. All right. And here we go. The School of Tropical Medicines was housed in a handsome chateau in the suburbs of Brussels. The student nuns travelled to it by trolley from the pensionnat run by their order. The trip was just long enough to enable them to read 4 of the 7 daily offices: Matin, Lord, Prime, and Tierce. And by the time Sister Luke came to Psalm 120 of Tierce, I lift up my eyes to the mountains, she knew she was passing the café where Jean used to take his coffee when he had been a university student. But she never lifted her eyes to look. The conductor called the familiar street name while her lips moved soundlessly through passages of promise. You shall not let thy foot slip. The sun shall not burn thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall keep thee from all evil. Still burning. They were 4, and they always sat together in the trolley. Sister Luke and her 2 young companions from the mother house, and Sister Pauline, who carried the car fare because she was the oldest, and who did all the talking for them when it was necessary to address car conductors and policemen. Sister Pauline had come directly from the Congo to join the trio from the mother house. She had been promoted to supervisor and furloughed home to secure a diploma in tropical medicines. From the moment Sister Luke set eyes on her lean and leathery face, she knew she had a major problem in antipathy to overcome. The sun-faded eyes that once had been blue were colourless as ice, and the icy monosyllables with which Sister Pauline answered her eager questions about the Congo conveyed the impression that that great domain of rainforest and blistering bush belonged exclusively to her, and that queries about her private property were ill-bred, if not even impudent. Sister Pauline is a pea vinaigre, Sister Luke had whispered to her young companions after their first encounter with the senior nun. Because they were Flemish like herself, accustomed to the sight of a small bronze statue of a pissing mannequin, which was the most beloved monument in their small land, they did not think it immodest to call their sister a piss vinegar. All right, I will light one of these. Ooh, got too much there. All right. Sister Pauline's possessive jealousy for the Congo seemed to be an acquired trait of all who had served there. It was even more evident in the university professors who taught them. They were all bearded medical pioneers, prematurely aged by long service in the Congo, eaten gaunt by malaria and their passionate love for the land to which their health no longer permitted a return, to which instead they had to send the beardless young doctors, the pale priests, the nuns and lay nurses who sat before them in classrooms kept at oven heat because they, the professors, were always shivering, even on sunny days. The professors began each day's lectures. If any of you thinks that he is going to see now in 1928, when there are bicycle paths through the brush, what we saw in the early 1900s, and then they would tell nothing of what they had seen. But their beards would twitch and their eyes glow, and if their shaking hands had not been caressing a wire model of the... Okay, I'm going to apologize. There are a lot of Latin words in this chapter that I'm not familiar with, but I'm going to butcher it quite terribly. A wire model of the Anopheles rhodesiensis, enlarged 1,000 times. You would have thought it was some dark goddess that haunted their emotions rather than a mosquito to which they had given the young years of their lives, both as bodily hosts for its parasites and as research minds studying its pathological effects. Sister Luke loved them all, For her, the lecture room was a homecoming into the world of medical thought. She could see her father behind every bearded face and hear, in each professorial voice, his own impatience with laggard minds and his scorn for squeamishness when death was not decorative and had to be described in terms of deformities of scrotum and labia. She loved most of all Dr. Hofart. Sorry, I try. It's like a Flemish Dutch name, Hofart, who knew, I'll get better, who knew her father, but did not recognize her sitting there before him in the habit of a nun. Not until she had fainted in his classroom did he realize who she was. It was the room heat that his fever-worn body demanded which overcame her. After the healthful, window-wide climate of the mother house, she found the temperature of his classroom almost insupportable. Her heavy serge, her coif and veil bore her down, and on the day when he introduced his great subject, the life cycle of the mosquito, she was sure she was running a temperature. The doctor had been humiliating the pale young priests whom he suspected, the beardless young doctors whom he deplored, and the lay nurses whom he disapproved of, utterly because as soon as they got to the Congo, he informed them directly they would fall a prey to the concupiscent colonials who counted off the white woman arriving on each ship like so many bags of gold. Women, he said, gazing at the lay nurses, as soon as they hear even the hum of mosquito, they faint. Sister Luke fainted on his word and slipped over sideways onto the knees of Sister Pauline. She came to in the corridor outside the classroom, with Dr. Hofart standing above her and the senior nun kneeling beside her, loosening her gimp. "If you can't tolerate this small heat," Sister Pauline was hissing, "I don't know how you expect to stand the Congo." "It's another kind of heat, sister," said her father's friend, looking down on her with recognition. "She'll get used to what's out there as you have. Moreover, she'll get the whole of my year's course in the 8 months your penny-pinching, poverty-vowed order allows for you, because she was looking through her father's microscope when most children her age were turning kaleidoscopes before the eyes." Each time thereafter, when Dr. Hofart began a lecture on Anopheles, he said, "If a certain one of our revered sisters will promise not to faint, I shall now tell you about the conditions most favorable to the development of the larva of the mosquito." And nearly every day after such a sally, on the lunch hour when the 4 nuns drew apart from the other students to eat their sandwiches in silence in the Chateau Park and recite Sext and Nun, Sister Pauline would look at her with aversion. If there was a time after the offices were said, before the school bell summoned them for microscopy, she would always turn the recreational talk to the subject of singularization. Sister Luke found it incredible that the senior nun could believe she had fainted deliberately in class to draw attention to herself. She sought in vain to find something she might do for Sister Pauline to counteract what seemed like a mutual antipathy. Sister Pauline was as preserved from need as was the fabled princess who slept in a block of ice. Her visions of the Congo frozen behind her faded eyes and sealed in jealousy behind her thin, uncommunicative lips. The microscope classes gave Sister Luke her first real view of the Congo. Here, in a long room with many windows, were rows of marble-topped tables, each with a microscope under a bell glass and a box of slides that had been made in the Congo. Every afternoon for 8 months she sat with one eye glued to the eyepiece and her fingers playing ceaselessly with the fine adjustment screw and illuminating mirror. Down the draw tube in the radiant field of the objective was the microscopic world of the Congo Basin, the beautiful and deadly shapes which cause leprosy, sleeping sickness, yaws, malaria, and elephantiasis. elephantiasis? Anybody? I'm not scientifically minded. She stared at pinpoints of life that had been stopped and fixed on the slides as ripples of silvery thread and rods straight and curved, as bunches of grapes and strings of pearly eggs, as minute transparent worms with round or flat heads and tapering tails. And sometimes in her excitement she raised a hand to her forehead as if to brush back a hat that had gotten in her way with its brim shadow. Then her fingers, touching the damp headbands of her coif, reminded her who and how she was. She memorized strange forms stained faintly with blue, their breeding places in blood, lymph, stools and muscle tissue, their incubating periods, life cycles and geographical distributions, as easily as if they were special tribes with personalities as distinct as the dark people from whose ailing bodies many of the organisms had been taken. This is the Congo that I can make mine, she would think. I would like a microscope. I almost bought one once. I thought I had found one on sale, and alas, I was wrong. It was a scam on eBay. So I have the slides and no microscope. I wanted the one that you could connect to your computer and see the digital image right there. What was it called? I forget what kind of microscope that was. It was a while ago. Perhaps I will get one in the future. I think it would be terribly fun to just take anything, take grass, take spit, I don't know, put it in the microscope. I always loved that in school. But for the life of me, I don't think I can remember all those Latin words. It was a horizon measured in micrometers, but to her lens-bound eyes it looked as wide as all creation, as indeed it was. She went through box after box of slides, always ahead of the other students. And before they were ready to make their own slides, she was visiting the basement with the lab technician to draw blood from the inoculated apes, rabbits, and guinea pigs, kept below as hosts for the diseases they studied. Sister Pauline's colourless eyes were often upon her, registering disapproval for her lack of charity in seeming to show up by fast accomplishment the other students, who proceeded much more slowly and with none of her excited recognition. If it had not been for Sister Pauline, she would have felt utterly happy doing the work that her God-given memory made easy, losing herself each day in a fascinating jungle of parasites, but never losing her way. She knew that Sister Pauline was having more trouble than the others. She fumbled her glass slides and often went back to the beginning of her box, as though her memory were porous. Tropical medicines depended 90% on memory, and the senior nuns had been impaired by the large doses of quinine. Oh, I didn't look that up. Quinine, which everyone took daily in the Congo. Sister Luke's compassion for her nervous sister overrode her antipathy as she tried to think of ways to help her. When she showed the other nuns how to see the difference between the bacilli de Koch that caused tuberculosis and the bacilli, oh darn, de Hansen that caused leprosy. Oh no, that is a mosquito. She raised her voice, risking being conspicuous, so Sister Pauline might hear. They're very alike, she said, both rod-shaped, both acid-fast, both with a slight shadow, almost like an encasing, capsule. But if you look closely, you'll see that the leprosy bacillus seems to be slightly fatter and longer. He's trying to get me. She wished she could tell them that all this was easy for her because her father had made her an expert in microscopic detection of the tuberculosis bacillus before she was out of pinafores. But she was in the habit of the nun now and she could not mention her past life. She suffered instead the unmerited praise of her fellow students, which often made her wish she could drop from sight through the floor. In the evenings, when she sat with her 3 companions studying in their large common bedroom in the pensionnat infirmary, she would work her way through all the tedious bypaths of convent speech to try to find a way to show her transcribed notes to Sister Pauline, who would never ask to look at them and never copy frankly from them, as the 2 other sisters often did. It would have been so simple to say to her dour senior, "My notes are good, Sister Pauline, especially for that genus Mycobacterium that occupies a position midway between the bacilli and the fungi. Why don't you take a look? My drawings would clarify, I think." Instead, she would gaze worriedly at her notebook, turn its pages over as if distressed, and finally say to Sister Pauline, "Would it be asking too much to have you take a look at my notes, Sister? I'm afraid I may have some mistakes." While Sister Pauline avidly read her notes, she would leave the common study table and go to her corner of the room and sit facing the wall to study the theory. She had earlier set the stage for this singularity by informing her companions that she could never study concentratedly unless she faced a wall. The maneuverings and the reticences, the elaborate formulae of prideless speech when you felt a justifiable pride, of charitable concealment of knowledge when you knew that yours surpassed that of others, often seemed to her like hypocrisy. Was it God's wish that his vowed ones be thus? She studied the etiology of leprosy, while the etiology of the Christian community knocked at the door of her thoughts. The science of this special way of being was all in the Gospels, she knew, but why, she wondered, did it seem so much more robust in those golden passages than in its earnest imitation? Thomas doubted and was promptly invited by the Christ to come forward and put his hand in the wound. Robust and direct, she reflected, not anything like this indirect thing I do night after night, trying with conscious effort to win over a sister I would never wish to see again once this course is over. Not even in a painting, she told herself vigorously. Since she had left the mother house, her emotions seemed to have come alive in ways weeds do when a stone is lifted off them. They sprang upright from the airless space where she thought she had buried them, pale, rubbery stalks of like and dislike, of pride and desire, which swiftly turned green and flourishing. Her concealed hopes for Congo service were now a passionate obsession. Her initial instinctive mistrust of Sister Pauline had become an antipathy she could no longer counterbalance with forced smiles of humility and charitable deceits about helping with the homework. Her twice-daily examinations of conscience told her clearly that something was wrong. A fortnight before the final test, she decided to take her troubles to the local Mother Superior. Mother Marcella was a woman of great interior richness, who ruled her small community with enchanting grace. It had been easy for Sister Luke to keep an open heart for this superior, whom she had admired from the first moment of meeting. Though dispensed from the community recreation, she had gone sometimes in the evening to hear the brilliant talk of Mother Marcella and her score of professor nuns. It gave her a foretaste of what she imagined the Congo communities to be. Small groups of matched minds, witty, intelligent, almost worldly at times. Equally broad in her application of the rule as she was in her ideas, Mother Marcella gave liberal dispensations to the 4 transient sisters confided to her care, allowing them to rise 1 hour later than the community because of their late study hours, and permitting speech among them after the grand silence. She seemed especially deft in her choice of their spiritual reading. Each Saturday in their pews they found a book with pages marked, which she wished them to read and meditate for the week. Her selections pointed up their weak spots as she had observed them. A chapter on humility for the proud, on obedience for the headstrong, on faith for the doubters. Sister Luke found chapters on humility marked the most often for her. On the evening when she stood outside the door of Mother Marcella's study, Sister Luke was aware that her humility had a slight shading of the heroic. She had never before gone to a superior to discuss her relations with her sister. She was ready to admit her antipathy and her defeat in all attempts to overcome it. She would follow whatever advice the Mother Superior might give, she told herself firmly, even if it meant darning Sister Pauline's stockings for the remainder of their time together, or shining her shoes each week. Nothing in the quiet hallway told her that she was standing at a crossroads of her religious life. She knocked, entered with a bow, and lifted 2 fingers to her lips, requesting permission to speak. "Benedicite," said Mother Marcella. "Dominus." Sister Luke looked up. The large crucifix behind the Superior's chair gave the impression that it was meant to convey that she was not kneeling before a woman. "I am in trouble, ma mère. I have come to ask the grace of your counsel." The Superior encouraged her with a nod to go on. "It is Sister Pauline. My conscience is not at peace because of her." With scientific detachment, she recited the growth of her antipathy and each of the steps she had taken in vain to overcome it. She avoided any mention of Sister Pauline's icy conduct towards her, and stressed what she believed was her senior's need for help in the course. "In all humility, ma mère, I believe I could help her if she would permit friendship. What should I do?" Mother Marcella's eyes gleamed while she was speaking, as if she were hearing a twice-told tale and knew the end before it came. She waited a few moments before replying. Her silence was a little disturbing. Sister Luke had never seen her falter for the decisive word. She looked at the hand lying lightly over the crucifix that held beneath the Superior's bib on a level with her eyes. The long white fingers moved up and down the ebony, seeming to take thought from the touch. "You are intelligent, sister," said the Superior at last. "You have broad ideas. I know that you can face things I would not say to others. I should not even tell you that Sister Pauline has already come to me." She hesitated, then said, The antipathy you describe is mutual." Sister Luke looked steadily into the Superior's eyes. "She apparently has many complaints," said Mother Marcella. "In some, she thinks you are an intellectual snob. She says you have no humility and does not believe that you can ever achieve it. She even wonders why you ever came to the convent. I am ashamed, ma mère. For her and for me, all this sounds very childish when you tell it." "It is not precisely childish. One might say uncharitable on the part of the older nun, but not childish," said Mother Marcella. "Her antipathy, I believe, is based on fear. She worries that she will not pass the examination, or if she does, that she will be far below you in grade. You can understand how difficult it can be for an older sister to be superseded by a first professed, as Sister Pauline most certainly will be, from all I have been told of your progress." Sister Luke felt her heartbeat quicken. The small room, furnished frugally with desk, chair, and a tall bookcase from which were drawn their spiritual readings, seemed to close in about her like a box. The Mother Superior gazed at her as if hoping that she herself would speak and suggest the thought she appeared to be taking up and putting down. Her silence was eloquent with indecision. Then Sister Luke saw the hand tighten about the crucifix. "You have been given a truly great opportunity to make a sacrifice for God," said Mother Marcella. "He endowed you with a precious gift, a brain retentive, muscular, and articulate. You asked what you might do." Again she fell silent, weighing her words. "Would you, Sister Luke, be big enough, tall enough, to fail your examinations to show humility?" She swayed on her knees as if the floor had moved. She stared with shock at her Superior. The luminous eyes, set deep in sculptured sockets, held her with infinite compassion, knowing the full measure of what had been asked. But had she the right? Sister Luke asked herself wildly. Had anyone except the Superior General herself the right to suggest such a thing? I forget which one I smoked. Her hands beneath her scapula seemed to twist out the answer. Anyone has the right, she told herself. Anyone at all in our particular God-vowed world, if it is seen that you lack humility or need strengthening in what little you have of it. You had this coming to you. It was inevitable from the start. You were even proud of your submission when you came to this room to confess defeat. Ma mère, she whispered. I would be willing if... Her scapula moved visibly above her wringing hands. If the mother house knows of it and approves. Bargaining again with him, said the inner voice, never the perfection of all as he wishes. Then it would not be for God alone, said the superior, as Sister Luke knew she would say. It would be, as we say, a humility with hooks, a humility that takes something back for the sacrifice. In this case, the satisfaction of knowing that the mother house knows. Courage needs witnesses, Sister Luke said involuntarily. Her father used to say that. Le courage a besoin de témoins, he would say, and discount all the bemedaled heroes to point out the unknown real one who had died alone, unseen, near the ground. Yes, said Mother Marcella, real humility, on the other hand, passes unperceived between God and the soul. She had one more question. It was one she was going to be asked for the rest of her religious life, in all sorts of places and circumstances, and always on her knees. How can I know he would want this from me? Go and ask him, said the superior. Sister Luke bowed her head for the benediction. All the struggles she had passed through were but a prelude to what lay ahead. She went immediately to the chapel and buried her face in her hands. Smoking's messy. She tried to look at the sacrifice that had been suggested to her by one who quite possibly could have been God's chosen instrument. She saw herself standing before Dr. Hoffart and the examining board, making wrong answers to questions while her father's friend gazed at her with unbelief and disgust. She saw herself looking down a microscope at the phileroid worm lower and writing Uchereri Bancrofti on the blank ticket attached to her slide. Her father's face came clear into the field of the objective, bewildered, shocked, and shamed by her failure. Ooh, got that in my nose. Oh God, she whispered, it would be wasting all those months of your time. But her training told her that he would be happy if it were in humility for him. She knew that this was indisputable. She knew, too, that she was weighing an opportunity she would never have again. Out of his eternal time, she reminded herself, God chooses his moment to offer the most perfect alliance with each individual soul. And this is mine, she thought. I can take it or I can leave it. If I take it, he might make no sign whatsoever. On the other hand, oh dear, that was a mosquito in my ear. What? On the other hand, he might shower me with graces and bring me close to sainthood. If I don't take it, this I cannot do, O Lord. Then she saw in the mirror the superior had held up to her, the inner awful mirror of the mirrorless convent world, all the cords that bound her to the selves of pride from which she had fancied herself detached. They were no silken cords. They were cable-thick, and they ran out from her like jungle lianas, extending even into the distance of childhood, when pride of family was born in the phrase La famille du docteur. La famille du docteur. Oh, I'm being attacked. Which set her apart socially from the children of mere businessmen. I feel terrible. I'm butchering the French words I should know. La famille du docteur. She followed each long trailer to its end and saw maturer things she nourished still, her pride of intellect, of judgment, of her ability to achieve whatever she set out to do. Must I now do this for you, oh my God? Do you really ask it? She tasted the tears in her hands and waited. There was an abyss of silence in the chapel. Christ would not speak to her, she knew, but he might inspire. If he wished, he might answer through her conscience. But even then she thought you could never know truly whether it was your imagination, your own desire cloaked, or his inspiring. Only the great pure souls could be sure. I should never have tried to be a nun. The path is too steep for my strength. With her tears she tasted the most poignant experience of the nun, the deep silence between Christ and the soul in trouble. She waited, but her conscience told her nothing. It lay heavy and mute within her, an organ in trauma. The mistress of novices spoke out of memory. You have only one aim, one constant dedication, one unique desire in the religious life, she said. It is to please God. Nothing else matters, absolutely nothing else. We have spoken often of the lilies of the field, created by God for his pleasure alone. That is your example. Though you toil in kitchens, schoolrooms, and hospitals, and produce many good works in his name, he is pleased only in how you grow inwardly. That is why he gave us those lilies of the field to consider. The kitchen, laundry, and gardener nuns, who seldom came in contact with human beings in the world, were lilies of the field. Their lives in Christ called for no choice, because their tubs, tools, and casseroles presented none. They joked at their heavy work and were gay. They had the ideal conscience of the nun, a conscience with nothing on it, like a child's before conscience awakens. Une conscience légère, or légère? I'm not quite sure. Actually, I didn't look that one up. They called it in the convent. I'll never have it again, she thought. The mirror was always there between her tear-wet palms and the eyes she pressed shut with them. In giant magnification, she now saw bright red discs sliding over the silver, and she said to God, "This is bird blood, and this next is monkey blood, and here now is human blood, and you can see, blessed Lord, how swiftly I can tell them apart, as I must do down there when I trace these tropical diseases through the blood of chickens, cattle, and monkey pets that your natives come in contact with, and also your priests and civil administrators isolated in lonely posts in the bush. Would I not please you in taking this knowledge where it is needed? Oh God, please don't ask me to give up the Congo." The abyss of silence was awful in its depth, width, and height. Her heartbeat hammered into it like asking drums, and no sound came back out of it. While she waited, she had her first deep experience of real humility, as she saw how little she had of it. After all the struggling, after all the systematic slayings of small prides, one by one, day after day, for 2 years, she had touched only the outer edges of that jungle where I, me, and mine flourished in 1,000 forms. She had never known that she had this inborn sense of her own worth, a form of pride so deeply buried in her, but she had never seen it until now, when she was asking if, for the sake of humility to God alone, she could do the thing that would make her seem worthless in the eyes of the medical world. Humility, she whispered the soft syllables longingly. The Irish girls once taught her a couplet from one of their country's poets. Humility, that low, sweet root from which all heavenly virtues shoot. That was long ago in the mother house. That was when she had been an infant in the religious life, and had thought that humility was a bowing and a bending and a begging of the soup. After a long while, she left the chapel. Oh dear. I don't want to smoke too much. I'm sorry, I don't want to. I'll do like 1 or 2 more, and this mosquito is still after me. He's getting a full meal tonight. The last 2 weeks of the course were so fearful in their intensity and took so much out of all the students that Sister Luke's pallor passed unnoticed. She was preparing for 2 examinations, one of herself in humility, and the other, easier one, in tropical medicines. Each day she walked beside Sister Pauline from the trolley stop to the university gate, with the 2 younger sisters following close behind them, and she would feel nothing about her silent partner except pity for her obvious state of nerves. Never once did she relate Sister Pauline in any way to her own inner torment. In classes, she studied with concentration. Even had she known what would be the outcome of her examination of self, even had she known that she would find the strength to fail deliberately, she would have gone on studying. Her nun's training in making full use of every moment of God's time would have made it impossible for her to fritter away the final weeks in pretended attention. She was there to study. Whatever the task of the moment, it must be done as perfectly as possible. Dr. Hovat grew almost savage as he took them through the last big review of the total course. His fevered eyes swept over the rows of pallid people who wanted to go to the Congo, cherishing them for their choice, though he acted as if he despised them all. He seemed to be trying to kill them then and there with the fevers, the dysenteries, the tropical skin ulcerations, the nematode, tapeworm, and fluke infections he flung at them, first in great subject headings, then in long lists of crippling polysyllables. Trypanosomiasis, Frambesia, and Ancilostomiasis, Lymphopathia venereum. Oh, you could hear minds exploding. Oh, yes. You could hear memories bending and breaking in the room. When he stopped for breath and listened to the scratching of their pens, he pulled at his beard as if he would throw that at them too, in his red-eyed eagerness that they should have the whole of him, they who were taking over his malignant and wonderful world. Occasionally in the final days, he fell in step beside Sister Luke after class and asked her, as a doctor to the daughter of a doctor, how he had performed. At once her heart stopped when he told her that he had telephoned to her father to tell him about her own performance in the course. That had to be in too, she thought afterwards. Papa had to be told that I was living up to the reputation of the family. And she saw him smiling and nodding as he held the receiver to his ear, listening to his old friend saying, "Your daughter isn't doing too badly, not badly at all, in fact." Then she saw with her father's eyes of the world the incredible sacrifice that had been suggested to her. It would be beyond any mentality outside the cloister to understand the simple logic of it. The simple logic, she went over it again and again, is that I am still proud and that I add to Christ's sorrows by being so. I was going to try to be a good nun, the best if I could. I kept looking for ways. Now a way has been pointed out. I need only say in the oral exams that the tsetse fly seems to have... Oh, we're going to kill you. Okay, nope. That the tsetse fly seems to have... Oh, now there, okay. Seems to have a tendency to alight on white instead of on black, though I know that its tendency to come down on the black skins is the reason why good colonials dress their native workers in white as much as possible, which is why sleeping sickness is relatively rare among Europeans and a scourge among the blacks. All right. Did it again. I need only begin with an unproved but often observed thing like that, then go on to prove facts and say, in deliberate misstatement, that yours is a form of syphilis because it is caused by a spirochete and is contagious. All the facts I know about the mosquito, I could say opposite. The adult mosquito lives on fruit and plant juices, but the female requires a blood meal for the maturation of its eggs, not necessarily human or mammalian blood, but maybe avian or reptilian blood. I could say that the mosquito never breeds in birds and snakes. I could say, O Lord, that enlargement of the lymphatic glands is not one of the most characteristic visible signs of the first stages of sleeping sickness, though I have looked at hundreds of photos of glandular enlargement in early stages and have that primary symptom fixed in my mind forever. What am I going to say? Will you tell me when the time comes? Her whole being rocked with the inner disturbance. She seemed to split apart into two debating teams with several selves on either side. That she could bear up under the constant contending was proof of the strength already instilled in her by the convent training, but this she could not realize. She skipped most of the final study hours and spent the time in the chapel. There was always that abyss of silence. The vigil light became the red eye of Dr. Heffburn, growing larger and redder as she stared at it and waited for some voice other than her own or her professor's. Will you please name for the board, sister, the intermediate hosts of the parasite Onchocerca? Oh. Yes. And give us a brief symptomatology. It is an ordinary life lived extraordinarily, said the mistress of novices. This is the essence of our way, and we will remind you of it often until your own experiencing becomes your constant reminder. Monsieur le Docteur, it is an ordinary life lived extraordinarily. And the red eye widened, and the professor shouted, I am not asking you about the life cycle of the nun, sister. The Onchocerca produces tumors of the skin varying in size from a pea to a hen's egg. Oh God, I must say that unless you prompt me otherwise. Is it wise to go so often to the chapel? asked Sister Pauline. It would seem to me that we serve the Lord best at this time by staying close to our studies. Can you imagine what a scandal it would be for the mother house if any one of us failed? I can imagine it only too well, sister. She looked at the vinegary countenance, surprised to see real anxiety reflected in it. I have put it in God's hands, she added in a gentler tone. Very laudable, of course, but surely he expects us to come halfway to help him during those 8 days of examination. Moreover, said Sister Pauline, the mother house will offer tomorrow's Mass for our intention. The help we need will be asked for us. It gave Sister Luke an odd turn to hear this. The 8 months away from the mother house had not dimmed her memory of its psalmodizing sisters and the purity and perfection with which they offered up their daily Mass. Perhaps this very night in the recreation, the Reverend Mother Emmanuel would be reminding them that tomorrow would begin the days of test. For 4 of their sisters and some of the artist or clerical nuns would doubtless be saying, that must be atrocious, Reverend Mère. To have to learn all about those fleas and flies in so short a time. Tomorrow, Sister Luke thought, they will sing their hearts into the Kyrie for us, for me. She opened a text and read, in the tsetse fly, trypanosomes will be found in the gut, mouth parts, and salivary glands, in all of which sites they multiply. She had no idea what she was going to do. She didn't know until her turn came for the orals before the examining board. Dr. Heffburn, every time. Heffburn. With 6 doctors beside him at the long table, gave no sign of preference or recognition when she came in the door. But when she was seated opposite the row of bearded faces, his eyes flashed her a look of connivance. I shall defer to my eminent colleagues for the first question, he said. His challenging tone seemed to say, trip this one up if you can, my friends. The malariologist cleared his throat and delivered the first question with the solemnity of a death sentence. The board would like to hear from the sister a resume of the special clinical types of pernicious as differentiated from chronic or latent malaria, naming no less than 4 of its forms as discoverable through their symptoms. She counted 5 of the forms on her fingers beneath the scapula. Cerebral, algid, bilious, remittent fever, blackwater fever, and the bronchopneumonic form, while the doctor continued, "You may take your time with this, sister. We have been working on it since the 1880s. She took time to say inwardly, "Thy will." Then she began to speak. She knew she had passed the examinations before the official results were published. On the 8th and final day, Dr. Hofart walked toward the door with the 4 sisters. His aside to Sister Luke was delivered in an offhand manner. "You may telephone your father tonight and tell him to have a platter of oysters delivered to the convent for you," he said. "We are not permitted to use the telephone for personal messages, Monsieur le Docteur," replied Sister Pauline for her. He lifted his hat as he walked away to his car. His glance of amusement told Sister Luke that he would telephone to her father himself. The rule of silence kept Sister Pauline from asking any questions about those baffling oysters, but her eyes told what she thought about doctors who addressed nuns in code and nuns who invited such intimacies. That night in the recreation, Mother Marcella announced to the assemblage that all 4 sisters had passed the examination. She handed out the diplomas sent special delivery from the university. Each diploma guaranteed a post in the colonies. Sister Luke wondered, as she received hers, if she had given it to herself or if God had. The Mother Superior drew her apart and said, "I do not know if I should regret my suggestion to you, sister. It was an inspiration of the moment. You passed 4th in a class of 80, and I do not know, ma mère, who inspired the answers to the questions." She looked at her parchment. "Nevertheless, this is not mine. It belongs to the congregation and any salary earned through it." "Ah, yes, the congregation will profit, Sister Luke." The Superior was silent for a moment. "But your failure," she said wistfully, would have been a gift to God." And that is the end of chapter 6. And the mosquitoes are out tonight. See, it's getting exciting. Maybe go to the Congo. There's another one. I'm going to kill it. Oh, it got away. Normally, honestly, I let bugs live if they're outside, and I'll kill them if they're inside. Okay, one more. We'll chill out with that. It is quite an exercise, like reading, because, I mean, I don't know, when you're reading, you don't quite know how long you have to hold your breath for each sentence, how long these sentences go on. Yeah. And this is breath control. It's all breath control. All breath control. Yeah. Outdoors, I usually let pests. Oh, you did get me. Let them live unless they are eating my plants. Indoors, it's all fair game. You die if you're in my house. Oop, I missed that one. Sorry. Speaking of deaths, so bizarre. My cat caught a bird yesterday. Now what's bizarre about this is the windows and doors, well, maybe some windows were cracked open. But somehow he caught it inside. Thanks. I know, I'm waiting on some constructive criticism. I want to get better. I'm waiting for a certain opinion right now. Very anxious about that. But we will keep working on it. I think this practice is good. But as I was saying, the weird thing about my cat killing a bird is that he was inside. He did not go out. They do not go out on their own yet. We don't have a cat door. Now, what do I like best? I don't know if I have a preference. I feel like maybe the herbal ones, because they feel lighter and I don't really get this like dizziness. So that's nice. I'm going to make my own. This should be fun. But maybe next week. So much to do. But yeah, he killed a bird without going outside. I don't know how he got it. He's a killer. He is a magical cat. Kind of concerns me. A mouse, I would have understood. But somehow catching a bird while you are inside is weird. You mean like custom videos? Possibly. I'd consider it. Depends. I've got much I'm doing. I'm doing my diary videos and my other YouTube videos. I have a couple Audrey ones I'm hoping to do next week. Oh yes, tonight. It's already 6, isn't it? Almost. There's no video tonight. I was too busy with the driving exam and stuff this week. I'm probably gonna have to space out my videos a little more for a little bit, just so I am not rushing them and get them done well, because I do have some ideas, but a slight lack of time somehow. Oh, that's there. So no video upload tonight. Hopefully next week. I was actually planning to do an Audrey Hepburn Roman holiday makeup tutorial this week, but I realized I did not have one piece of makeup that I needed, so I ordered that and it hasn't arrived yet. So I missed that one as well. Sorry. It kind of makes me a little spacey. I would consider. I was thinking of, I don't know, doing something with OnlyFans. I don't want to smoke all the time. This is like my smoking day. You know, I don't want to smell like this all the time. That's something I was thinking a while back, and it just dawned on me when I was smoking the herbal cigarettes. How Audrey smelled. Probably smoke and perfume. And I'll bet a whole lot of other people smelled that way as well back then. Can you imagine? Just like, and smoking indoors. I just can't imagine. I guess you get used to it. But that was kind of a revelation to me that she probably smelled like a cigarette. No one mentioned it though, but I guess if everyone else smells like cigarettes, then you don't notice. Do I like it? In a way. I mean, just because it's kind of this old-fashioned thing. Kind of classy, even though not healthy. But once a week, I did my research. And a couple each week like this basically has no real effect on your health. It's once you hit like 100,000 cigarettes. No, I'm not gonna do that. But I mean, I prefer my cannabis, so that's gonna sneak into my custom cigarettes. Some tasty herbs and cannabis. My one grandfather, his family, his parents, his father owned, no, I'm not totally clear on the whole manufacturing of tobacco, but they owned a tobacco farm. And the only memory I have of my granddad, because he died when I was 7, was him at home in his chair with a tracheotomy tube. And that's kind of all I remember. So I've never had the desire to smoke. I think my grandma might have smoked too. I don't remember smoking, but I know she was involved in the tobacco farm thing. If you look online, you can even find an old picture of what I believe is their drying barn. It says Brenneman on the side. Look up Brenneman Tobacco, Millersville, Pennsylvania, something. You can find that. Oh, okay. The end of that. Yeah, I don't know. I think I do prefer the herbal one, although I feel like there are probably better herbal ones out there. So I'll look into that, but I have a ton of these, so yeah, I don't know. They just feel lighter. You kind of get the deep breaths and everything without the I mean, maybe like smokers don't get this lightheaded thing, or maybe that's what you like. I don't know. But I might prefer the herbal ones. Although this is only one brand that I have been trying, so I don't know. All right, I must go. I'm gonna finish editing this diary video I'm working on. Don't forget, if you feel like donating, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Kendall Brenneman. Also, there's the super chat thing on this. Well, yeah, I think someone mentioned it. I will see about it. I will see about it. And if you just like me reading or like my normal voice, I'm also going to have a lot more reading things on that, on the Buy Me a Coffee thing. It's kind of a members only place, and hopefully I'll have some other fun things there as well. It's just getting started. My TikTok, you can look me up on TikTok, Kendall Brenneman. I put one new video there. I have a couple more ideas for videos. Maybe something smoking, we'll see. Instagram, pictures, I have to edit something. I should do that tonight too. Pictures. I'm feeling very creatively motivated this week, so hopefully I'll get some things done. And yeah. Any other news? Nice new hat, I like it. It's a shame it's all blown out up there. But it's a nice hat, I like it. I need more, like, this isn't really casual, but I want more casual hats that I can just tuck my hair up into. It's nice and easy and still classy. So, you know, I'll be around. As for the smoking, you know, we're at least going to finish this book. I don't know what to do when it gets colder. We'll figure that out later. There is a little veranda I could sit in. It just kind of depends. That was my backup plan for if it rained today. So that is the backup plan for rainy days. And I don't know how loud the rain would be there though. So far we've been pretty lucky. 6 weeks of this. Doing well. Progress, I think. So yeah, I guess that's it for today. Thanks for joining me again. Follow me everywhere else. Check out my other videos too. They need some love. And if you have other ideas or suggestions for videos that don't involve smoking, I do need, you know, other ideas. You know, I don't want to run out and someone might have ideas I haven't thought of. Audrey related, Audrey related or not, like some kind of vintagey thing, if you have an idea, I am open. So I will see you next week. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.